Hello and welcome to the Victim Slayer podcast. Journey with me as I attempt to tackle the realities of the day. If you're sick of the sugarcoating surrounding everything right now, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hey guys, how are you all doing? I hope you are good. I really hope you're good. Today I want to talk about spirituality and religion, I guess, and mysticism, and probably a bunch of other things that I'm just gonna float on through and tie it all in with. I feel like my mind is on a journey and I'm just really excited about it. I feel like I'm learning lots and trying to open my mind more to things that I've been close-minded about, and but also trying to keep the balance of not opening my mind too much, that there's nothing there's what's the word, like, you know, that until your brain falls out. And so trying to keep a balance but really exploring different ideas recently is what I've been doing, and I just want to share some of the things I've been thinking about with you all. And yeah, whoa, it's so crazy. Like, I'm just so excited. I'm so excited, and it just makes me feel alive, you know? So I want to share that. And so I guess I'll start off with a definition of spirituality. So apparently the Cambridge Dictionary says that spirituality is the quality that involves deep feelings and beliefs of a religious nature rather than the physical parts of life. Okay? But we also have... I wrote down different ones because obviously people would speak about spirituality not really maybe of a religious nature, but kind of separate to religion. So we've also got that spirituality, the meaning has developed over time. So traditionally spirituality has been tied to realms of outside of the body, in religious understandings. The aim of creating oneself as the image of God or connecting with the divine. Over time the meaning has widened and now includes mental aspects of life, not necessarily religious. Modern understandings, often separate from religious practices and institutions, point towards experience of a sacred dimension where deep meaning resides, external to the physical world, and also includes a kind of connection with oneself and that we are all as one. So what are your thoughts on spirituality? It's so interesting. It's not something that you hear spoken about really in common talk, I guess. You know, it's more of a sort of in the hippie realm, I guess, or religious, and so people who aren't kind of hippies or religious sort of don't really speak about these things, which is interesting, and something I feel, I've said this before, but is that kind of what we're missing is we are very, very, very engaged and obsessed with the physical world and with materialism and consumerism, and these things are limited. And to me it seems very clear that the point of life is not to... You don't find meaning from the physical world. I don't believe. I think I'm saying that correctly. Like, you don't, you know, people nowadays as a form of therapy, and this was actually written in when I studied psychology. They're talking about different types of therapy and things that make people feel good, and one of them was called retail therapy, as I'm sure people have heard of. And yes, it's true, it makes people feel good, but you know, so does heroin. And it's strange to me anyway that what is strange to me? Let me think about this. So it's not strange to me why people would do that and why they feel good because our whole society is built on consumerism, and we're told that if you go and get the next thing, the next outfit, the next phone, the next thing, you're going to feel good because then you're going to be the same as everyone else. And what a thing to want, you know. You should be like everyone else, and that there is status to be earned in things, and so you can better yourself through things. No, that's so clearly not true in my understanding of things, is that there isn't meaning in that, and that's why people endlessly buy things and consume and don't ever, their fulfillment doesn't go up with that, you know. It's they'll be happy when they're shopping or when they come home, and then it's back to not feeling like they have enough, because again, the fashion industry is always continuing, you know. There's like 7 billion seasons a year, a million different looks, and you're never quite up to scratch with the newest look in the fucking magazine or wherever the fuck you're looking. And the same thing with technology, you know. There's always someone that's got the newest thing, and so it's this continual rat race of things. And for me, I'm really not very materialistic, and that's been from quite a young age, you know. I've never really been interested in clothes or anything like that. And for me, like, I see, I'm not saying all the time, but I try to see what's gone into the product. And for me, you know, if you've bought some ornament or something like this, it's like, that was made by some, I'm not necessarily saying like a child slave in some country, but might have been if you're buying it from one of these cheap stores, which a lot of people are. And people are doing up their houses in the style in their kitchen, in their living room, and bleh, all the time. And what that is creating is this continual purchasing of cheap shit that we put in our house to go, oh, that looks nice, but we're not seeing behind that there's people that have made that, or a factory that's made that. You know, it's not the same as an ornament of someone that's like handmade that for you, like a loved one. Like that I can get behind, you know, because that's like art and that's meaningful. But when a factory's pumping out billions of these things that you're only going to have for a year or so, and then you're going to redo that room and you're going to throw that out, and that's going to be wasted. You know, it's going to go to a rubbish dump or some sort. And that whole process, to me, it seems that's wrong, because you are contributing to waste. I don't like waste, and you're contributing to the destruction of the planet, I guess. And I'm not even really that big into, what's that called, in like environmentalism and stuff like that, but I do take seriously that we shouldn't waste things, and especially not things for, you know, really we should use what we need, and we all have more than we need, you know. I'm not saying that I'm completely minimalistic. I use plastic, and you know, it's hard to do it as well on a budget sometimes, you know. Everything is created with plastic and all these kind of things, but it's something to take into account that really consumerism isn't good, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and you don't find meaning from that. And so it's an endless cycle of consuming more and more and more, and making, also as a byproduct, making the world worse. And well, yeah. I guess that's what I'm trying. What was I even bloody talking about there? Spirituality. Yeah, so it's not where we should be looking for meaning, and what we're doing presently, or a lot of us are doing in the modern world, is looking for that meaning in products, and it doesn't come from there. It's futile and actually bad for the physical world. I would say it's bad. Okay, it's bad for Mother Nature. I guess that seems true. And so what are we missing? Why is everyone so dissatisfied with themselves? Why do people feel the need to spend all of their money on things? What's going on? What are we missing? Those are the questions. And I feel the journey that I'm on at the moment is discovering that, and I've always felt that, but now that I feel connected to God and connected to spirituality, and just to make clear, I'm not religious. I think religions are fascinating, and there's loads of truth in probably all religions, although I don't know all of them. I only know the kind of the big ones somewhat, but there seems to be truth in here that we've kind of forgotten in our age of atheism and secularism, which is understandable, and obviously I've been that way for 26 years, so I understand why people doubt that there could be truth in religion, because it seems that often the loudest, craziest people kind of put people off the thing. Like, for example, the loudest, craziest Christians are going to make everyone think who's outside of Christianity that's a bunch of fucking loons, and the loudest, craziest hippies are going to make everyone outside of the things that hippies talk about, think about, explore. They're going to think they're all a bunch of fucking loons. And the same goes for all of these things. Maybe the same with veganism, maybe the same with environmentalism, maybe the same with everything. And what I'm learning is to try and see past the loud, crazy people and discover for myself, even though it's fine. Obviously, it's like a good conclusion to reach that, oh, well, I don't want to turn out like them because they're a bam-pot, so I'm going to not go there. Yeah, that's fair enough, obviously. And that seems reasonable, but really what we should be doing is discovering for ourselves and going a little bit further, not just going on the surface and saying, well, there was this one crazy Christian and they said that there was a man in the sky and he clicked his fingers and then blah blah blah, and that is truth, and everyone else who thinks science is good is a maniac, you know. And there obviously are people like that for everything, and they seem to be, from my perspective, lost and trying really hard to cling to something and rah and shout, and really what they're doing is a disservice to the thing they're talking about, I think, in most cases. So I think diving into these topics and discovering for ourselves what is it, why have religions lasted so long? Because the perspective that everything that came before us is stupid is something I see kind of pushed a lot in places like schools, universities, and mainstream kind of thinking, I guess, is that, look at fucking 50 years ago when they used insulin to reset people's systems, and that was used to treat psychosis, and that's so stupid, like. And we kind of focus on that, and I actually use that example specifically because that was one that was used in my university course, which clearly I didn't enjoy very much. But that's because, as I've said before, you know, schools are corrupt at the moment, and there's a lot of information that is anti-education. You know, I'm not anti-education, but yeah. So what was I saying there? Yeah, got the thought back. So it's that perspective that looking at the past is stupid and looking at the present as the smartest thing that's ever fucking lived is dangerous, because you're not, well, one, it's not balanced. And by the way, just to slide this in, I'm working on a video right now for YouTube, well, not for YouTube, for you guys, that I'll post on YouTube, and it's about balance, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be good, so look out for that. That's kind of exciting. What was I saying? And yeah, so it's not a balanced perspective, which is never good. You know, we really need to try and be balanced, and that's what I'm working on so hard at the moment, is to try and take what I've learned to be true and be steady in that, but also be open to know that I could be wrong, and not in many things I have been in the past, and on many things I still will be, and I need to be open. So you need to remain firm and open, I guess, and always looking at different perspectives and how to reflect on yourself honestly. So I'm kind of trying to do that at the moment, and it's really exciting. And so I think this perspective of, yeah, the past is dumb, the present is smart, I guess, and it's bad, because then what we do is we disregard all the truths that we have learned over time, and there are ancient truths, and these are the things that I think are good to root yourself in. Again, speaking about balance, is to say that there are truths, and there is an objective world, and there are things that we can build a strong foundation on. For example, like, don't lie, tell the truth, say what you think, you know. That's all kind of the same thing, but you know, that seems to be a good idea, and that is within so many religions, types, you know, and philosophies, and all these ancient things that we have gathered. We need to not forget that these came from the past. You know, the past wasn't just stupid, and we weren't all just bad, and everyone wasn't just oppressed and terrible, and now things are sorted. You know, I think that's not a good way to look at it. And if we do close ourselves off to thinking that the past was dumb and that today is good, then we're not really open to seeing both sides of today, what's good about today and what's bad about today. What have we gone wrong in our progression, and what are we doing right in our progression? And similarly with the past, like, what did we get bang on, and then what did we get that's not so great? And obviously I think religion's a good one to look at, because the fundamentals of religions, like, if you look across religions, why is there a shared truth in them all? I mean, that's just interesting, is it not, for one? Because these people were separate, and they've all come to the same sort of thing, which is kind of what I'm going to be touching on in the balance thing, but that is interesting. And the same with philosophy, and people have, and art, like art in many forms, as in literature, in traditional art, like paintings and stuff like that. People have been talking about the same ideas for God knows how long, for forever, and we've been refining them, and but there are things that are subjective that we're working on, and realising that everyone does have a different perspective, and that there probably is a kernel of truth in each individual's perspective, because everyone is unique and looking at it from a different point, and so that is valuable. But there is also objective truth and things that are, in a sense, there is a reality, and it seems to strike that balance perfectly, is to have both be true at the same time, which is really hard, because people either lean to the left or the right, and they're kind of open and creative and explorative, or they are closed and structured and orderly, I guess. And it's about bringing the two together, and this is why I guess it is ridiculous but very easy to play politically people off of each other, because it's the left versus the right, and it creates wars, and people really hate each other because it's, no, I'm right, and in fact both are right, and they need to be sewn together, not pushed apart. And but it's interesting, isn't it, you know? And kind of some people are saying objective and some people are saying subjective, but both are correct. And what the hard thing to do is, for every person, everyone struggles with this because they lean certain ways and have certain extremes, but the way to be the best you can be is to keep that balance, and keep opening yourself to new things and learning and realising that you're pretty dumb and laughing and finding love. And what I'm finding recently is I've been watching loads of DMT trip reports. Let me get that up. So what is DMT? DMT, the chemical name is dimethyltryptamine. I think I pronounced that okay, but I'm not sure. And it's an hallucinogenic drug which is similar to LSD, though its effects are more powerful, and it has been used in spiritual shamanistic rituals in South America for centuries. That's all you really need to know. And so I've been looking at people who have taken that and what they're saying, and then I've also been looking at ayahuasca, which I'll get up as well. Ayahuasca is a South American psychoactive brew used as a traditional spiritual medicine in ceremonies among the indigenous peoples of the Amazon basin. So the brew is commonly made out of the Banisteriopsis Capi vine. Okay, who knows how that's pronounced, but it's a big fucking long word. It's made out of plants, right? Vine and the Psychotria viridis shrub, and some other ingredients, right? So you combine two of these plants. One that has, so ayahuasca also has DMT in it, and so one of the plants has the DMT in it, and then the other one that they combine allows the DMT to be taken into the system. Okay, and so they're both kind of DMT, and they're used for spiritual purposes. Obviously, some people will take DMT at a party like an idiot and potentially have a bad time, but what it seems is that the people who are taking it seriously and using it for spiritual exploration are having some incredible experiences, and that's really interesting to me. Like, I'm quite an open person in that sense, you know. Like, I think people should be able to, like, for example, I think drugs should be legal is kind of what I'm saying there. So I'm kind of open to that sort of thing, and I've tried a few drugs in my time. I've tried LSD and MDMA, and they were pretty interesting experiences, although at the time that I took them I was very mentally unstable, so that's something. And I wasn't using them properly, really. I mean, LSD we were trying to explore, but I mean, the first time was pretty good, but not too intense. And then the second time, you know, we waited 3 hours and nothing happened, and so took another tab, and as soon as we swallowed it, shit started to kick off, so we took too much. And it was very interesting, but towards the end it was really not good. And so yeah, anyway, I'm interested in exploring, and people obviously are too, and they've been using these substances to do so. And what is interesting is, an MDMA or Mandy or ecstasy. I've taken that as well. I thought that was great. What I actually found from that specifically is one of my favourite drugs, you know, and I'm not trying to encourage drug use here, just as a wee disclaimer, you know. I'm just talking about my experience, so it's alright, but to be honest, it was great. And what it really made me aware of, and again, because I was very mentally ill when I took these drugs, and there was definitely an element of just having fun and getting out my face a bit, and that's not good. But what I have done since is tried to integrate what I had learned from the drugs into my life. Not as well as I could have done, but I have often thought, like, it's been years since I've taken anything like that, and I do think back to, like, the times of experiencing ecstasy, and, like, basically, if you're not taking it, it just makes you feel really, like, your fear is gone, and you don't really notice how much fear you had until you take ecstasy and there's none there, and it's like, holy fuck. But in such a loving way, because a lot of other drugs, like alcohol, for instance, the legal one, it makes people, I mean, there's obviously certain levels of alcohol that are good, like a few glasses of wine, people are able to talk and chirpy and want to dance and feel a bit more free, and that's great. And then I guess at extremes, like everything, it's not good, and people can be aggressive and very egotistical and argumentative. But on ecstasy, really the experience is that most people are just feel really full of love. And the first time that I took a considerable amount to get those effects, I was speaking with, it was just me, David, and a friend, and we were sitting there, and we were all holding hands. It was so cute, and which, that just sounds funny. I'm gonna just imagine how some of that's gonna sound to people, but it was just great to actually be like that, I guess, because normal life is so closed off and fearful, and sitting in a circle holding hands is the furthest thing from what anyone's gonna be doing. So, and we just felt to do that. It wasn't, I think I might have instigated it because I'm a big sap, but anyway, it was good. And I remember saying, like, quite soon after we started feeling the effects, like, oh, everyone feels like 33 point, well, I actually remember I didn't know what the percentage of, I said, what's the percentage of a third, and they said 33.3, and I was like, I feel like everyone's 33.3% right now, and like, I can't, that's the best way I can describe it, is that we were sitting in this little triangle holding hands, and everyone who spoke, the other two were listening to that person, and then when the other person spoke, everyone would, like, intently listen to that person, but want to listen to them, and it felt like everyone was equal to this undescribable feeling of that. And it was just crazy because there was no, you kind of realise that in normal life how much your ego is battling for you to be the one to be listened to, and it's just not equal. People aren't, like, in normal conversations people aren't really listening to each other. I'm not saying all the time, and there's people who are better at listening, but there's definitely this clear distinction between those two experiences, and people just they're just waiting till you shut up till they can speak. Or I've been, I'm not saying not me definitely, and all these things are just so egotistical, and no one's really sharing. But in that moment, in that experience with that drug, that was not it. And there's so much love, and there's so much wanting to share and be close, and to listen, and no fear. You can say what you're thinking, and you can say it with love, and it's just incredible. And so for me, that experience was very eye-opening to what is possible, because obviously you can say, well, you're just fucking high, so whatever, it's just chemicals and whatever, but to me it felt, no, it was actually like, it's possible to, because you're not like out your face. I mean, you could be if you take more, but you're very normal, you're just full of love and no fear, so you can have excellent conversations and you can connect, and it's basically like what you would imagine the perfect world being. Everyone's equal genuinely, and everyone genuinely cares about the other person rather than themselves, and everyone's full of love and not fear. It's like a dream, basically. And so to experience that is possible, even if it's through taking a drug, really has made me think over the years since taking it that, okay, that is possible, and to kind of work towards that. And obviously there's ways of doing that through meditation, through exercise. I don't mean exactly that, but eradicating fear. That's why I talk about exercise so much, because you can gain confidence, you can change reality by what you're doing in the physical world. And I think this is again back to the balance. So it's not just like, let's get high on ecstasy every day because it's perfect. It's like, no, let's use that experience to know that is possible, and then we have to bring that into the physical world. So what does that mean? Okay, if I want to be a more loving person, how do I do that? Well, for one, I don't feel good with where I am physically, maybe. So I could work on that. So that means actually doing what you say you're going to do and putting in an exercise plan and then doing that. And then by doing that, you go, oh, I'm doing what I said I was going to do. Wow, I never thought it was possible because I always just fallen through on my plans before. And that gives you a bit of confidence because you go, oh. And what's so good about that is you learn that you were wrong. You learn that your assumptions are assumptions and they're not true, and you don't know everything. And this is actually really important. I've been thinking about this recently. This is why you need to do things that you are afraid of, and this is why you need to tell the truth. It's because it breaks your assumptions. Like, there are so many assumptions that we all have that, and I've personally had this, that, oh, but if I tell them the truth, this is going to happen. And so you bend the world with your lies. Because one, you shouldn't do that. Because it does warp the world. And the world is warped right now because of a lot of lies. And that's clear. Okay. And as I've said before, I've contributed to that. So, it's just what happens, I guess. It's not good, but we can all change. All it takes is you telling the truth, and that is scary, yes. But what you learn when you bloody tell the truth is that, oh, I didn't expect that to happen. You might be right about 1% of things that you expect. And you always expect the worst as well, let's be reasonable. The worst does not always happen. The worst happens sometimes. And even then, it's probably not the worst, Anyway, so what I'm saying is, you don't know everything, and the only way you can really know that is by actually living truthfully. So if you tell the truth and you go, oh no, I can't do it because they're going to do this, which isn't a good reason anyway, because the truth should still be told. You shouldn't use your words to bend reality to suit you. That's just seems to be true. And so we should use our words to say what we think and to be honest, and then see what happens. And what you'll find out is that when you see what happens, you actually realise, wow, it's not what I expected to happen. In a good way. A lot of the time. Because we expect the worst. So actually a lot of the time you're going to be nicely surprised, because the worst thing that you can possibly imagine is actually very not realistic a lot of the time. So that's insane. What a way we can change the world instantly by just deciding from this day to tell the fucking truth. Wow. And to say what we think to people that we'd much rather not because it's easier. That's a hard thing to do, but whoa. So that's the other thing. Not only do you tell the truth, and that's how you can interact with the world, but do other things that scare you. And this is where the exercise thing comes into it, because I think a lot of people they're scared. I mean, people are just scared, aren't they? We're all scared. But we don't have to be. I think this is what you can learn from these ancient truths and from God in its non-religious sense at all. I mean, or the universe, or whatever you want to call that higher power that is so seems to be there, like goodness and all this. Oh gosh, I'm getting lost. Yeah, what you can learn from that is that you don't have to be afraid, and that good is worth striving for. And so if you interact with the physical world through exercise or anything else, but for this example, exercise, you will find out that, oh, I was really scared to go a run because I thought, I don't know why you would be scared, right? There's a million reasons. I don't want people to look at me and blah 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 fears that I've had. I mean, I used to actually be afraid to go out for a run every time, and I first started running with a friend, and then when I moved back home I didn't have any friends so I had to go out running by myself, and that made me shit myself. Like, the first time I did that, I was shitting myself for so stupid reasons, like people are gonna see me, they're gonna judge me and all this stupid shit, and then that goes away, because then you realise, like, what the fuck was I afraid of? And it doesn't go away instantly, you know, it must have taken quite a long time until I would leave the house and not feel afraid, which is just ridiculous. But it was just fear, and you don't realise that you're wrong about all of that until you do it. So you have to do it. So you have to do things that fucking scare you, and you have to do things that are good for you that scare you. You know? I mean, it seems simple, but that's the key. And the key is also then being, like, humbled by the fact that you were so wrong, and like, oh wow, people aren't laughing at me for being a fat like breathing non-able to run person. Like, people like seeing you out running because they're like, good on you. That's definitely the overwhelming response to people on a run. They say hi like they do normally to people, and there's a lot of encouragement out there. They say, fucking look, that person's trying. People like people who are trying, which I think we forget because we're so afraid, right? But people like people trying, so it's okay to make mistakes. And this all sounds cliche, but it's true. Actually, cliches are fucking truths, and that's why they're cliches. It all makes sense. Like, that's why people keep saying them, because they're true. But then people hear it as a cliche. Oh, it's just cliche. It's like, no, it's fucking truth. It's actually truth. And that all you need is love is actually true. And right, so sorry, back to the DMT trip reports. Like, the people keep saying the same things as, like, religion. Kind of different, like, because it's more of the spiritual realm rather than, like, the, you know, obviously institutional things are kind of bad. They get corrupt and they're bad, and I think everyone can agree on that. Like, churches and religions are far from fucking perfect, but the ideas within them, fundamentally, not the kind of maybe stupid, like, nitpicky ones, you know, the fundamental ones about be good and don't lie and forgive others and serve others, like, all these sort of things, and do things in balance, don't do things in excess. All these different things are true, and to have love over fear. This is what people have in these DMT or ayahuasca, which I guess is the same thing. They're coming back and they're having these mad experiences of love, and they believe that it's real more than anything else, which is really interesting. And again, I'm not saying go out and take this. I'm not taking this or anything. I haven't taken it, but it's just interesting. Like, if you're interested, go and watch them. I've been, like, crying and just being so moved by people's experiences. I cry at everything, so that means nothing, but you know, I like a good cry. But it's just so moving, I don't know, to see these people. And, you know, there are people that are idiots and they're just taking it and they're, oh, that was crazy, man, and then not doing anything about it, which I think is wrong. Like, especially if you look into ayahuasca, you know, that is a long-standing medicine. They use it medicinally, and in the right setting, which they speak about a lot, is, you know, with the shaman to guide you through. It's not about getting off your tits, and make sure you're okay. And also, a huge step that they emphasize is integration. And so you have this, like, some of the retreats, or I guess that's more of the Westerners going out there, but if they were doing it for medicine, it seemed like, okay, so for Westerners going out there to try it because they're seeking something like this, they go, and a lot of them seem to be doing, like, 7-day retreats, or I don't know how long the actual retreat is, but you would do, like, 7 days, I think, actually, of ayahuasca. Maybe some other ones 5, maybe some other ones 3, maybe 1, I don't know, but it seems to be this process. And, you know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, that's not what people are saying, but they're saying that it's showing them things, it seems it's showing them things that they need to see. And it's also, it seems that it's breaking down the walls, and people are also talking about ego death, and so what that's allowing people to do, it seems, is take away their ego so they can actually look at what they need to look at. Because I've experienced this firsthand, and obviously this is what happens, is the ego wants to protect itself and always have the idea that it is the best and all these things, which really is counterproductive towards self-development and realising the truth, I guess. Yeah, Christ, realising the truth, because your ego also always wants to tell you, oh, it's just your circumstances, that's why that happened, and no, actually it didn't really happen because you were hurting, and no, actually, no, that didn't even happen because that person was addicted to you, or all this bullshit, rather than saying, no, actually you did something wrong here, that needs to be fixed in some way, or you at least need to fucking look at that truthfully and say, I actually did wrong there. And that is obviously a humbling process, because you realise that, okay, I'm not as good as I thought I was. And that's powerful, because then we can see that we're flawed and we can work on that. But it's not only that, it's also, people seem to be having the experience of extreme love and extreme feelings that everything is okay and that you don't have to be worrying about all the things that you're worrying about. And then more so, people are coming back with these experiences that we actually are all one, and all these differences we have are really not so important. And it's not to say that nothing means anything, and I think maybe that's what some people come back saying, and they're coming back kind of like, oh, it's all love, man, and in my opinion, not balancing that with the real world. And I think the balance is, as far as I can see, bringing that back and then integrating, as they call it, integration, and they say that's really important. So you have the trip, and then you let's say write a list of things you need to do, and that might be go home and tell people you fucking love them, tell someone you're sorry, actually start that business that you wanted to do, start writing that book, start that creative project, whatever it is, right? And so people are coming back and they're talking about integration, and so it's not just let's all sit around all day and hug. Like, yeah, that would be great, but we do still live in the physical world, and so use these experiences as tools to make the physical world better, and you can make then the physical world more like that spiritual world where everyone is loving and hugging, you know. But we can do that, and these experiences seem to be telling people that you're fucking powerful. You are so powerful. Like, and this again goes back to religion, God is within you, and that is, it seems to be true that God is within people if only they allow that, if only they fucking believe in themselves. And so people are coming back believing in themselves and then going on to live out their dreams, because they've actually had that obviously overwhelmingly real talk with something higher that tells them everything's okay, and that don't worry so much about the little things, and basically all the cliches are true, fucking hell, but they've felt that deeply, and that everything's okay, and that they're like, change some of these things, go and work on that, but then go telling them that, yeah, that dream that you have that is your calling, go and do that, you have the power to do that. Stop thinking that you're not educated enough, you're not worthy enough, you're not confident enough, people will laugh at you, all these stupid things. It's telling people, no, you can do it, and that love is the answer, and that we're all one and we must serve. And that's just fascinating. Like, whatever way you take that is fascinating. And it does seem to be, I don't mean these drugs are the answer, but what they're telling people is true. It's the answer that we all should be working towards our unique calling and believing that we can do that, because if we do that, we bring to the world what we're meant to bring to the world, which is, we're not meant to be all the same we're meant to be unique. That's why we are. We all have a different perspective and a different life and a different genetics and whatever, and that makes you completely fucking unique. And instead of going into the world and into these schools where you're trying to be made all the same, and you're trying to be made into a robot who can fucking push buttons until we get a robot to replace you, no, that's why people aren't fucking fulfilled, because why would that be fulfilling? You are fucking unique. You are so unique, and don't try and get away from that. Go more into that. Go more into what is unique about you, and then use that to help and serve other people. Is that not great? But believe you can do it, and believe that love is possible, and that it's real, and that when you're filled up on love, and this is the one point that I can connect with because I've felt that the other things don't matter, and that it really is about building people up. And oh goodness, it's not just, I mean, it's exciting because I actually feel really optimistic even in a time of sheer chaotic madness and destruction and lack of freedom, and you know, everything that's going on. Is you can definitely look at things in a pessimistic way. It's so easy to, but it just, what I think the thing to ask yourself is, if you're in that mindset, which I have absolutely been in and still struggle with when I hear some crazy bit of news or whatever, is ask yourself, which one is more useful? The mindset of optimism or the mindset of pessimism? And I really do not mean this in a sense of turn off your mind. Like, don't be blind. I'm not saying walk around and say that what you're seeing, which is clearly bonkers and not true and all these things, I'm not saying go around and say that's great and that's good. Like, still, this is again the balance of the being firm but being open. So still seek the truth and know the truth, but find the good. And most importantly, it matters again what you do so much, because if you go out, if you decide today, like, that's it, I'm fucking done with being negative, I'm done with thinking all these hateful thoughts and whatever it is that's kind of negative and it's consuming you, and I'm fucking done with looking at the past, and I'm done of holding on to these grudges of people that have wronged me and who have hurt me, and they have actually hurt you. I'm not questioning that people have hurt you and that it was wrong, and the truth of that is still all true, but get rid of it, be done with it, fucking let it go, and decide. And that will be a daily decision, you know, you can't just do that once and then it's gone, so I understand that. But if you decide today to let that go and be full of love, find ways to practice it. There's fucking many things out there, ways to focus on love and on compassion and kindness and wisdom, and you can do that. And if you do that, you become better. And oh my god, if you strive for better, right, let's just imagine this out, right, you strive to be good, and you strive to, instead of when someone pisses you off and says something fucking moronic, instead of snapping at them and like letting out all the fucking pent up annoyance, which this is very personal to me, right? Because people can be morons, right, and they can really set you off with their stupid words, okay? But instead of snapping at that and just reacting and making the world worse, because that's what that does, right? Don't lie. Don't say, oh, okay, yeah, you're not a moron. I'm not saying do that either. What I'm saying is respond to them with love. And what that means, love is truth, but in a kind way. And so if you're in that situation, you tell them the truth. You tell them what you think, but in a loving way, and use communication as something that is good. So you have the choice to communicate the truth in a way that makes them feel shit about themselves, makes them feel like a moron, and makes them double down into their potentially moronness. That's a new word. Or you have the opportunity to elucidate some truth to them, if that's so what you're able to do, in a way that they might actually be open to seeing. And by the way, they probably aren't, you know, but that doesn't matter. Like, you don't know as well what impact you're having. Like, that could matter, even if they bark back at you like a dog. They might actually go away and think about that later, and something might click a year down the line. You don't know, but the point is, you do your best, and that means you haven't hurt your own soul. what you're doing as well is you're becoming this machine that can take in people being angry and all this thing. This is what Jesus represents. That it can take fucking being hit and whatever, but what you outpour is love. It's fucking hard. Like, we all struggle with this. So I'm just saying what we must do, what I must do, what you must do, is take in the shit and outpour love. And is that not the most beautifully meaningful journey you could ever have? Because it's so difficult, it's so hard, but it's so rewarding because you know that you're being the best you can be. And then, on top of that, the best you can be is the best you can be. And you kind of think, well, it's not making a difference. It doesn't matter, because it is, but don't be focused on that. Let's not be focused on the results, because we can't see everything. We don't fucking know the results, for one. And two, if you are the best you can be, it most certainly absolutely has an impact. And if you live out with love and with passion and with sheer delight for life, that touches other people and that grows. Laughter's contagious, negative moods are contagious, but love is contagious also. So if you live to the best you can, and if you forgive other people, you're just willing to forgive, and that is a choice. I'm not saying you feel that. You choose to forgive people. You choose, despite your feelings and your anger inside or whatever, you choose to either be silent if you cannot manage words of truth that aren't angry or bitter or an explosion. Choose to be silent with love. Just choose love. This is so funny, because even me listening to this, even maybe 6 months ago, I would have been like, fuck's sake, shut up. But that's great. I'm so happy that I believe I'm learning and getting better. So, there's a lot of embarrassing shit that's actually on my YouTube. For me, I feel really, I'm like, fucking hell, I'm such an arrogant arsehole. And, but that's fine. That's good. I'm glad I'm growing. And, we all just need to be glad that we're growing. It doesn't matter what we've done in the past in the sense that we all think it does. We need to let go of all of that and just find a new way to do it. And love is actually the fucking answer, and to be the example that you want to see. So if you don't want things to be corrupt and for people to lie and politicians to do this and take advantage of people, then you be that example, because it's so important for you to be that example, because other people will look to you and go, wow, that person is genuine. And that's the thing, because authenticity, David and I were speaking about this the other day, is that people know when you're being authentic. People know when you're someone, to be trusted, and all these sorts of things. Like, we have this sense, which is also kind of interesting, because we don't, again, that's a bit like woo-woo, isn't it? Because it's not scientifically proven that's a sense, but intuition is a very strong sense, and we need to get that back. We need to be thinking about intuition and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's all exciting, because I like science, I love science, but feeling is powerful. Our intuition and the way we feel, I don't mean in a kind of like victim mentality, you hurt my feelings, that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, your gut feeling. Your gut feeling is actually something to be listened to when you're healthy. When you are struggling with a mental illness, it can be a bit trickier, because you can kind of feel all sorts of things. But when you're healthy, listen to your gut. Or when you're praying or meditating or journaling, if you practice these things, that you become more self-reflective and practice critical thinking and on all these things, then you can trust your intuition more, because you're getting closer to the truth. And if you try to honestly separate what suits you in the world here and now, and separate that from the truth, and get better at practicing that, you'll know, and you'll be able to trust yourself, and you'll be able to trust God and trust life, and not be so afraid, because really the world is good, and we have the power to make it that if we believe that. You know, because right now we're all so defeated by how terrible things are that then we end up, because we're going, oh well, that person's such a fucking shite bag, so, and then you get angry, and then you end up being angry with someone else because you're kind of overwhelmed and stressed, and then the world actually gets worse because you believe the world is bad. So let's fucking believe the world is good. And you know, people are actually good. Certainly not all people, and I don't mean that as like just some like, ooh, that sounds nice, but I mean there's so many incentives for people to be bad. Like, you know, we're encouraged to, like in this country for example, like the benefit system, you're encouraged to like have 20 children, and not, I mean children are great, but to like different dads, and then be an alcoholic, and because you'll get financially rewarded, or you're encouraged to lie in the healthcare system because then you'll actually get to see a doctor. You're encouraged in so many ways, like to, even in renting and stuff like that, you're encouraged to be a shite bag because you win, and if you're honest in that you lose. So, but people still are honest and good, so that should be encouraging to know that despite being rewarded to be bad, people are still good, you know. So that's fucking awesome. I feel like I've spoken for quite a long time, but there were a few other things I wanted to say. One was actually to do with women, and I don't know, this is maybe just my own feeling on this, and I've spoken a little bit about feminism before and how I don't like it, which maybe is a bit general. And again, actually that kind of fits into what I was saying earlier about, you know, it's the loud fucking ones that ruin it for everyone. And so maybe that's what's happened with me there, is that, you know, you see these loud feminists shouting for all the shit they shout for about how they've got it so bad, when in fact they've actually got it. They are the most protected group. You know, white women, they are the most protected group. So I'm just putting that out there. But anyway, anyway, to be a bit more open-minded, there's obviously parts of feminism that are good, and we've progressed in ways that are good, but maybe just too far currently. So, but anyway, I'm not really fond of the general ideas playing out in feminism right now, but that's because it fits into this victim mentality, which is shit. It's just shit. So that's kind of like why I think that. But anyway, what's the point in that? Yeah, I think another reason that women are so upset, well, I don't know if that's the right word, lost. Like, everyone's upset and lost, by the way. This is just specifically, like, when I think about it from women's perspective, and like what's happening there, and I believe it's because women are in the wrong place, as I've said before. That's gonna sound bad to some people, but I mean that they deal better with, on average, home life and raising children, right? Which you can think what you want about that. That's absolutely fine. And you know, some women should work, and I think actually all women I'm not saying you shouldn't work. I think women should we should all work. We should all have creative work that we do, you know, whatever that means. Okay, so we should all have creative work, but I think family wise, it works well to have women with young children, because they're great at that. They're so great at that, and they're so fulfilled with young children. You know, what could be more important than raising not just your child, but that you're impacting the next generation? Because if you do a good job, you've just created the next fucking hero of the next generation. You know, it's such an important job, which I think the problem is that we've tricked everyone into saying that that's not really that important a job. Just fucking throw them in a nursery, and that person there that's getting paid £6 an hour is really gonna care, and they're really allowed to install values in them that aren't just the values of today. That's not a good idea. That's kind of what I'm saying, is that there's not being like love poured into these kids. They're just getting pammed about and then learning the doctrine of today, which is, well, we all know what it is. Okay? And it's not the same, you know. Someone who's getting paid to work with kids is, even if they're great at the job, it's not the same as a mother or a family member who loves them and can put their own values into that child. Anyway, you think what you want about that, but what I'm saying is that we've lost the idea that that is a sacred job. And so I think then women feel like to be deemed worthy, they have to compete with men, because the only thing that's fucking important in this world is a career and being really great and successful and having power. That's the fucking way to be valued, and that's just fucking bullshit. Yes, it's valuable to create a great business that helps people, but it's really valuable to be a great mother who raises wonderful children who feel loved and secure enough to explore and become a great person of tomorrow and become a hero. And we don't have that. Like, we have children who don't get enough attention because they're in these big groups of childcare, and there's a million reasons to go into it, but you know, people don't feel loved. People don't feel fucking loved. That's why everyone goes to eating chocolate and drinking and taking drugs and millions of different other things. It's all just to feel love, isn't it? And social media and likes. I mean, is it not most so obvious, like, that these social platforms are built on likes and views and how much love did you get? I mean, it all started with fucking Bebo, didn't it? One love a day, who's it gonna be, you know? And so we're all, that's what we're striving for. But love actually comes from all the things I've just been talking about. Oh, it's so exciting. But okay, back to what I was actually saying there, is what I'm trying to say is that we've basically what we've done as a society, or the powerful shitebags who want to just use people have done, is made it so that career's the most important thing, which, by the way, isn't really what everyone's doing. Most people are working like just a shite job. Like, most people don't have careers, even though I don't know if I've said this before, but you know, Subway, their job is called a Subway sandwich artist. Yeah, a fucking artist. When you're putting a fucking sandwich together that the customer tells you, I want fucking lettuce and tomato and tuna, that is not a fucking art. I don't even need to say that, but Jesus Christ, that's what I'm saying. Like, that annoys me so much. But that's a career. That's not a fucking career. That's maybe it's a good job for someone, but it's not a career. Anyway, it's work, and someone might love that, right? But it's got to be a very small percentage of people that actually love that job. I really don't think I'm being unfair to say that no one really loves that job. For over a year, anyway. Anyway, right, I'm getting a bit sidetracked, but sandwich artist though. So we've been tricked into believing that career is the most important thing, and that family is absolutely secondary. And even in the idea of, like, families don't live in the same village anymore, really. People follow their work, and that's the way people live. You follow your education, then you follow your work. So basically your home doesn't really matter. You just go wherever the work takes you. So that's the most important thing, and work's more important than your kids, because everyone spends more time at work than with their children. And you know, that's the way it's been set up, and that's really hurt women, because their most sacred role is in children, and feeding them with love and teaching them how to live and how to be good, and whatever comes with that role. Obviously it's a huge role, but I think as well, and this might just be me personally, but recently I've always actually struggled with being a woman, whatever that means, but like, I've never really felt connected to being a woman. And I think some of the reasons for that, although I don't know all of them, are that, one, I'm not sure, but I think one of the reasons is because it seems in this consumer age that we're in, that the things that were told to me that were girly were like clothes and makeup and being a princess and shoes, and I was like, ooh, like, quite fucking frankly, that's not good. Like, why would I want to be a woman if they only care about shoes? And that is like definitely an idea that is, I felt pushed. I mean, obviously it's true, women do fucking just care, I don't mean they just care about shoes, but they care about shoes more than men, and I just didn't connect with that. And I found a lot of things that I was unable to connect with women, and I think that's hurt me in a lot of ways, because I've just kind of been like, fuck that, and just, well, it disconnects you, and so that's kind of weird because I am a woman, and so that can obviously cause problems, I guess. But recently I've been feeling like, it's just because we live in a time where women they're actually not respected. So in that way, and I don't mean in the way that people say that nowadays, I mean in the sense that their sacred role is not respected, and I think their sacred role is in feeling. And so there's logic and science and the physical world and boxes and boundaries and stuff like that, which is kind of like the physical world and the man's sort of way of thinking, and that's all beautiful. Like, again, these things should be perfectly balanced. The order and logic, beautiful, necessary things. Logic is amazing, right? But it's only logic in the sense that it's still limited. It can't say everything about everything. Nothing can. And so, but we're missing feeling. We're missing that intuitive mother feeling and that nurturing. And I also think, this is what I've been thinking recently, is that the spiritual is linked to the feminine as well, which I think it probably is in historic things, although I'm not 100% sure of that. But it's that openness and that feeling, and because we don't have that in society wide scale. I know people obviously practice spirituality and stuff like that, but most people's lives in secular Britain and the West, women and men just go to work and they're the same. They're just the same. There's not this, like, we're not highlighting our differences and celebrating them. We're saying, no, we're all the same, it needs to be fucking equal, and if it's not, then, and we're just comparing, like, there needs to be the same amount of women in a fucking science place as men. Like, no, because women don't want to do that as much as men, and we're getting that all fucking backwards, which we can talk about logically. But the reason that women are so upset with this, I think, is because they're not being praised separately for staying at home and looking after the child. They're not getting told that is a fucking damn important job, and it's equally as important as a man who goes and makes a business that helps the world. It's equally, if not more, important to raise the children with love and with care and with all that comes in with that, and also to be a spiritual mother. And so that means bringing into the home and to the world the idea of the spirit and what can be taught through feeling and intuition. Like, I don't know, I'm feeling like that's the women's role, and that we've just sliced that off. We've just said, no, the only world that exists is the fucking world that you can see in front of you, and science is God now. Well, no, science is limited, so and science isn't science, actually. David and I were speaking about this yesterday. It is a business, and the only science that gets funded is the ones that come out and say things that align with the corporations, like, oh, actually sugar is good for your body, hooray, like, let's all get addicted to sugar. Like, science isn't open and unbiased, and so therefore is science dead? Questionable. Now, science is beautiful in its true nature of being an honest observer who is open and unbiased. Excellent. But we need to realise that, one, it isn't that when it's funded by corporations, and two, it is limited, and there is another side, which is feeling, intuition, and I think that's where women have been lost, because that is their role and we don't have that role. And so they're trying to compete with men, and they can't, because they're not as good as that, and men can't compete with women on that because they're not as good as that. But no one's actually, that job just doesn't exist anymore, the spiritual mother. And let's bring it back. Let's fucking bring it back. Okay, I think that is all for today. I enjoyed that run. I hope you enjoyed it too. I hope it made some sense and it wasn't too all over the place, but you might be getting used to that by now. Anyway, let me know in the comments if there's anything you were thinking, anything you enjoy, anything you'd enjoy, and anything you'd like me to discuss in the future. I guess, why not pop that in there. And I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you can choose love. Remember, it's a choice, and remember, it's a choice daily that we can all do, and we should all be working towards that. I'm working really hard on that at the moment, and I hope it comes across that I've changed if you have watched my old videos, and that, you know, I feel like I'm on a mad journey. I feel like every day I'm really trying and struggling, but to choose the light and to look at the good and to just be connected with God and just to be fucking excited about life and to be in awe at the beautiful nature of the world. And, you know, it's enjoyable so far, so try it out. Okay, make good choices, not bad excuses, and just share the love. Share the love, man.